Welcome to Learn to RV, the podcast. We are here for another one of our community spotlights. And today we have one of our Learn to RV blog writers with us. I'm so excited to get to sit down and talk to Amanda Pelser. Thank you so much for joining us
Yeah,
and being on the show again.
no
We're so
problem.
excited to have you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited to talk to you. We've never had a chance to meet in person or to
I
talk
know.
directly, so I'm excited to chat with you.
I know. It's going to be really cool. So, for listeners who maybe haven't read any of your great blogs or they didn't see your previous interview, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your life and where you're at right now.
Okay. I'm a certified homeopath, so I work with clients and help people with homeopathy day in and day out. But first and foremost, I am a Christ follower. I am a wife to my husband. We've been married for over 22 years. We have 4 boys. Their ages almost 19 to down to almost 10.
Wow.
Oldest one is graduated, still at home. And then we are now living on what we call a little homestead or wannabe homestead. And we've got a bunch of animals. So we've got I think we have 20 chickens plus several roosters. By the way, are not doing their job right now. They're not laying eggs, and I'm a little frustrated.
Oh, no.
Molting and all of that right now this season. It's cold and wet here in Texas right now. And we have 3 turkeys, guardian dogs. I'll use that term loosely because they don't do their job very well sometimes either. We have 2 pigs. Yes, the list
Oh,
continues. We have 2 pigs. They will go to freezer camp this winter. And then we have a cow, our dairy cow. We got her this summer and we're waiting for her to calf any day now. So we'll be back in milk soon. So it's a little crazy around here sometimes.
that's a full house.
Yes.
Like you started with 4 boys, and I was like, whew. And then you just kept going.
Yep.
So, okay, I have to ask because you were saying like your chickens are not laying eggs, and this has nothing to do with anything that I want to talk to you about today. But I heard that if the temperatures drop, that chickens they're like, nope, you can't have my eggs. Like I just won't give them to you. Is
Well,
that
it's
true? Like they just stop laying them?
It's the temperature and it's the light. So as the days got shorter, they lay less often, but they're also molting right now. So I think that's our
Uh-huh.
other problem. And I think our roosters might be stressing them out.
Ugh,
Uh,
roosters stressed me out. The year that I had my oldest, our neighbors decided to give their daughter a basket of eggs to hatch for Easter. And among those eggs were ducks and a goose and a rooster. And that was the year I
Oh, yeah. It's
learned
all day
that
long.
roosters don't care what time it is.
2
And
a.m., 2 p.m. Doesn't matter.
they really don't care if you have a newborn that just went to sleep at 3 a.m. They're going to go ahead and crow next door all day long. So, yeah, roosters are not my favorite. So I feel for your chickens right now. Well, okay. So you are homesteading right now, but you
Mhm.
didn't always homestead. You guys used to RV. So let's go back to your full-time RVing days.
Yeah.
What pulled you guys into that lifestyle in the first place?
Yeah. So we actually still live in our RV. We're just in our RV on our own property. One day I
Nice.
hope that we'll be able to build or do something, but right now this is what we have and we're thankful for it. There are 6 of us living in an RV still. If you're full timing or even if you're part timing,
Wow.
you understand that that can be tight
Uh-huh.
quarters. But thankfully we do have a 43-foot fifth wheel. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It's not super high end, but we got enough space for all of us. Our journey started about the spring of 2019. We were living in California and we just didn't want to live there anymore. A lot of different reasons. At times we'll call ourselves California refugees, political, religious, medical, etc. We were ready to live I don't want to say live a different kind of life because we wanted the freedom to live the life we were already living that we felt like we were not able to live in the situation we were in. So we were at a point where we were like, okay, what do we do? We're going to have to renew our lease. Do we move closer to the office? Do we stay where we're at? My husband was already working remotely. So he went to his boss and said, we're trying to decide what to do. And his boss said, well, have you considered leaving the state? And we're like, we can do that. And then we thought, okay, well, where do we want to go? Where's God calling us to? And we thought, okay, maybe we'll go to Texas and we'll just kind of bounce around Airbnb or something like that until we figure out where we want to be. Then RVing came up, and I told my husband, "You're crazy. We can't do this. We have 4 kids." And he's like, no, there's families doing this. And so we started looking for an RV. And about 6, 8 weeks later, we had found an RV and we were preparing to take possession of it and breaking our lease a little bit early. And by the end of the summer, we were on the road full time.
So 2019, when did you guys step off the road then?
We bought our property in February of 2024.
So across those 5 years, do you have a favorite memory or destination that kind of sticks out to you that, like, I don't want to say encompasses because 5 years is a lot, but just a moment in time that kind of speaks to you as like, this was the height of that time on the road. This was full time RV life.
I think the thing that sticks out to me was kind of the normal life for
Hmm.
full-time RVing. Like some people might say, oh, well, it was this destination or that destination. For us, and I think most full-time RVers would say this, like it's not a vacation. It's not like you're
Yeah.
constantly going and like you're having to figure out how to live everyday life while moving. And we would try
Mhm.
really hard not to move more than every 2 to 3 weeks. We had a Thousand Trails membership and
Yeah.
all of that. And so I think what really comes to mind to me is not like the trip to Maine or the trip to here or there. It was, I mean, those things were great. And we certainly have fond memories of those kinds of things. National parks, places we went, people we saw, family we got to visit that we would not otherwise have been able to go and see. Family members that my kids got to meet that they never would have been able to meet if we had been sticks and bricks still on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So what sticks out to me is every winter at Lake Conroe. We would go to Lake Conroe Thousand Trails every winter. That was our kind of our home base, and we would spend several months there. And so it was the people that we would see every winter. It was the normal everyday life. It was the kids going out and playing. It was the working, the campfires, the coffee chats. We helped lead a weekly Bible study and worship type of a thing. So like if someone was coming through and could lead worship, then they would join us and would lead worship. But we just did a regular Bible study around the campfire every week while we were there. So it's that kind of everyday stuff is what really sticks out to me the most.
Yeah. You have 4 boys
Yes.
and you homeschool,
Yes.
and now your oldest is 19. So, how practically, talking about that day to day life, how did you make homeschooling work for you in an RV? Were there certain programs or things that you tapped into that really were most successful for you?
Yeah, I think what really helped us is that we had already been homeschoolers. We're homeschoolers from the beginning. So,
Hmm.
my oldest, like you said, is almost 19 and we just graduated him, but we started homeschooling when he was 3, if you can call it homeschooling at that age. I
Yeah.
mean, he was precocious and learning to read and write right about that time. So we started on the early side. Of course, I was the gung ho type A mom who was like, we're going to do all of this and we're going to do it right and we're going to do it perfect. And not
Yeah.
necessarily that I was looking for school at home, but like I was just ready and he was ready. And so we jumped in, probably too early in some ways. But we had already been homeschoolers, is the point. So it
Hmm.
wasn't, we didn't have to make that switch from public school or private school to homeschooling and all the unschooling or deschooling, I guess is the term I'm looking
Yeah.
for, in making that transition. It was just, we went from homeschooling in a house to now we're homeschooling in the RV. I think the biggest change we had to make was going more digital. We had to find ways to, of course, lose weight and not be carrying a ton of books with us, which was
Yep.
so hard, which is like I've got bookcases, here in my office now on our
Yep.
property. So it was so nice. It was like Christmas Day when I got to pull all the books back out again. But I got rid of so many books before we left California. Sold tons of things at a homeschool fair. So that was the biggest thing. We had to get rid of a lot of books. There were some things that I chose to scan, which was legal because I owned the copies still. They were in storage. And so I scanned certain things so I could have them with me. And then I would swap things out. We did have a little storage unit in the North
Smart.
Houston area. So every
Uh-huh.
winter we would come through and then we would swap things out. But for the most part, it was like Kindle books and doing worksheets on an iPad and
Mm.
those types of things. That was the biggest change we had to make.
Yeah. So what are the ages of your boys? Did you tell me?
Oldest is almost 19. The next one
Uh-huh.
is 15 and then 12 and a half and then almost 10.
So you've got a range. You're not teaching the same curriculum to each boy that you've got.
Well, at times we did. By the time we launched, my oldest was already heading into high school. So
Uh-huh.
He was mostly on his own. The younger 3 were, like, together for science and history, and then every couple of years, someone would age out and be more on their own. So there were certain subjects that, yes, we did do together, but then there were still a lot of things because there's 3 and 4 years between them where we did have to
Yeah,
do it individually.
it's really interesting. Moving from on the road to off the road, can I ask what moved you guys to get a property and stay in one place?
It was always the goal. It was just a
Mhm.
matter of God's timing. We always kind of felt like the whole journey was a very Abraham-like experience,
Yeah,
because it was like,
out in the wilderness kinda.
yeah, we were just like, you need to go, and as soon as you would take a step, the platform, the foundation would appear, and then it'd be the next step and the next step, and, so it would just the land would just appear ahead of us as we would take the step. But we knew from the beginning that we really wanted to be in a homesteading type of environment. We really wanted animals. We wanted property. We wanted a place where our kids could stay, and if they wanted to build a tiny house or something like that and stick around and help us,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So it was always the goal. We just didn't know how long that would take. And we probably went into RVing like a lot of people do, where they're like, okay, we're going to do it for a year and we'll see what happens. We knew it would probably be longer than a year
Mhm.
because it wasn't just like, we're going to do this and see what full timing feels like. We knew full timing always had a purpose, and that
Yeah,
whatever we were living in was probably going to go to land with us.
yeah,
So when we finally reached a point where, like, okay, this is the land we feel like God's calling us to buy. I'm like, this is in the middle of nowhere. We've never even been to this area. Like, shouldn't we like try it out or something first? And no, we just jumped and did it. God provided the funds for the down payment, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go for it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll just sell it and find something else in the future. But we've
yeah.
been here for about a year and a half now, and we love it. We've got a great church, and the boys are starting to get plugged in with people, and we've got all of our animals. And yeah, it worked out. It was exactly what we were supposed to be doing, and the right timing.
I feel like a huge part of us setting out was and has been trying to kind of determine like, is there a place that feels like the right place for us? Like, is there a place that is that right home base for us? Do you feel like when you guys set out, you kind of thought that part of your journey was finding that? Or do you feel like it was more of waiting for that to be available?
I think it was both, really, because on one hand, we felt homeless before we left. Like, obviously,
Mhm.
we had a roof over our heads, we had a community, but we just didn't feel like we fit.
Uh-huh.
And we knew there was something different, a different place, a different way of life that God had for us. And I think there was
Uh-huh.
also this, we didn't have the finances to travel when we were in
Mhm.
sticks and bricks. It was work, work, work. And California is expensive. Trying to
Yeah.
keep up with life there. My husband was working a part-time job. I had my little business on the side to try and help out. My health was going downhill, and it was like, what are we supposed to do? This is not the kind of life that we want to be living. And so
Yeah.
it seemed like in in some ways going smaller felt stupid, because it's like, you guys are going to be even closer together. You're going to be at each other's throats. How are you going to do this? And it brought us closer together. Now, I'm not saying we don't fight still. Certainly we fight and we
Right.
don't get along. And we still live in our RV, obviously. Like I said, but there's an aspect of when you were that close together, you have to figure out how to get along, because people can't
Yes.
go off to their separate spaces. So there was an aspect of, we want to travel, we want to see things, we want to do things with our boys before they're out of the house. We want to go see family. Like, we got to go see my grandmother, my boy's great grandmother, and help move her into a nursing home and see her again just before she passed, all in the middle of some of the COVID stuff going on.
Mhm.
If we had still been on the West Coast, we wouldn't have been able to see her in the Midwest. We've got my grandmother's brothers and sisters, some of my boys' great aunts and uncles, or great great aunt, something like that, great great something or other, that they got to meet because we were on the road. They're just
Yeah.
opportunities they wouldn't have had. So I think there was the aspect of, we don't belong where we're at. We know there's something different. We want to be together, and we need a way to also to save money to move towards the next season. But we
Yeah.
also felt like we were searching for the right place. Like, okay, well, do we like it in this area? Do we not like it in this area? What's the atmosphere? What's the financial climate, what's the religious climate. And like I said, we ended up choosing a place we'd never even spent any time in. We just
Yeah.
jumped.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you mentioned your health, and I don't want to push you to talk about anything that you don't feel comfortable
Oh, that's
speaking
fine.
about, but I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your health journey and how that played into maybe the decisions that you've made in terms of you are practicing homeopathy full time. You offer that as a service to other women who are going through some of the same things, and so I'm wondering if you can kind of talk about how that path played into your decision maybe to leave California, to get on the road, to settle where you are now. If you can kind of just take us through some of that and maybe start with, like, for people who aren't familiar, just a real brief, because I know that there's a lot to it, but like a real brief, this is what homeopathy is, just to kind of introduce people to what it is that you do.
Yeah. Let me save what homeopathy is for a minute and set you up with my story. So,
Okay.
after I had my oldest, so he was born around 2007, my health continued to decline. Like I was already having some issues before that. And it was a lot of gaslighting from conventional medical providers. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just depressed. You're just anxious. You
Yeah.
need more sleep. You're a tired mom. Your blood works fine. There's no diagnosis. Let's just, give you an antidepressant or something like that. There were hormonal issues. I was on metformin in order to get pregnant. We were on our way to possibly having to do other infertility types of things. And thankfully, we never had to do that. I just was on this medical road that I wasn't happy with. And no one was giving me answers. And I had to just pick myself up by my bootstraps and, research and figure out what to do on my own. By the time number 3 came around, we moved from North Carolina to California, and my health was continuing to decline, extreme pain, fatigue. Number 4 came around, and then I was like probably 80% bedridden. The pain
Um,
was awful. The food allergies, I had to make everything from scratch. I was homeschooling my boys. Like, so all this stuff is going on, and overwhelming to try to juggle it all. So when I'm not in bed, I'm cooking, and thankfully, you can homeschool from bed. So that worked out, and I could work from bed,
yeah.
but you only have so much stamina, so much energy to get through the day. I finally reached a point where I started going down a functional medicine route, and I got some answers there. I had already been using homeopathy for acute things, the colds and flus and that kind of thing. I went down the naturopathy route, got a little bit more help there, and then I'm like, I'm already using homeopathy. Certainly there's got to be something more here. And I just kept hearing that I needed to be working with a homeopath in order to do anything with chronic issues. And so I met Dr. Christy Corder on the road, and she was teaching practical homeopathy. So here's a good spot to pause and tell you what homeopathy is. It is basically just based on the idea of similimum, or what it's translated as like cures like. So a substance
Yeah.
that can create certain symptoms in its gross form, say like a red onion, when it is potentized, diluted and potentized. So I won't get into all the details, but diluted and potentized. Now you can take it and it will help the body nudge back to homeostasis and help the body with those same symptoms. So when you cut a red onion, you get symptoms like watery eyes, burning. If you have those same symptoms in a cold or allergies, if you take potentized red onion, which is allium cepa, that could help your body work back towards homeostasis on its own. So it's not suppressing, it's not forcing your body to do anything. It's giving it information that it needs to use what God designed it to do. Your body knows what to do. It knows how to heal itself, how to take care of things. So I met Dr. Christy on the road, and she was teaching practical homeopathy. And so I started studying with her, and she and I both ended up going to the Academy of Practical Homeopathy together, and we've studied together for years. She still operates as my homeopath and helps me with my family when I need help, because when you're so close to the situation, it's hard to be objective.
Hard.
So even as a
Yeah.
homeopath, I have a homeopath. But I just started learning more and more, and I started working with her for myself, and God just started opening doors and things started coming together. My body started responding to some of these things. I'm not 100% by any means. I have bad days. I actually just got over shingles for the third time.
Ugh,
But using homeopathy, I was able to bounce back much faster, was not in as much pain. I've seen God work through homeopathy. And along the way, like I said, I had this opportunity to go to the Academy of Practical Homeopathy, and my husband, so I'm gonna be really transparent here. We were looking for land and we had
mhm,
money set aside, and I had this opportunity to go and be certified in practical homeopathy and help other people. And I'm like, I just don't feel like I should spend the money on this and the time. And I was still struggling with my health in some ways. I'm like, I don't know if I can keep up with this. And he's like, but I see your face. You light up when you talk about homeopathy and when you're helping other people with this. You need to do this. And so in some ways that set us back
mhm.
in finding land, being able to actually take that step. But now I'm able to help people, and I'm finishing up a second certification in clinical homeopathy. But yeah, that's basically my story. It was my struggle with the conventional medical system, not getting the answers that I needed, being dismissed and gaslit, to then finding homeopathy and studying homeopathy for myself, working with a homeopath, and now being able to turn around and bless other moms and families with that knowledge and helping them.
That's incredible. I think one of the things that really resonated to me in your story of how you found homeopathy is which is sad, but that gaslighting that a lot of women experience in modern healthcare.
Yeah.
And, I think part of that is sadly just a misunderstanding or a lack of understanding of the body, especially for women. There's just such a lack of study of what our bodies go through. I mean, even when you go back and you look at a lot of the medical studies that have been done on the body, even down to like heart attacks, all of those studies that have been
All
done
in
on
men.
heart attacks, they were all done on men,
Yeah.
um, even middle aged white men at that. So you're missing a huge demographic.
Yeah.
You've completely isolated different races, it's just everybody.
There's a
And
really good
so,
book, if you've never
uh-huh,
read it, called Male Practice, Male Practice, Male
okay.
Practice by Dr. Mendelsohn, where he
Oh, I'm
goes
gonna have
through
to read
all
it.
of this, and it's from the 80s. It's a very eye-opening book, and it made me feel better, years ago when I
Uh-huh.
was dealing with all of this. And with homeopathy, we have the opportunity to be so individualized. So when I meet with a
Mhm.
client, it's 30 minutes to an hour, and hearing what's going on and the changes, and did this help? Did it not help? What do we need to adjust? And if one thing doesn't work, we've got a ton of other things we can still try.
That's gotta be so relieving after just a lifetime of being told essentially to be quiet, you know, but to actually be told you can speak up. You can tell me what's wrong. I'm here to listen.
Yep.
I'm here to hear you. That alone has gotta be healing just
Oh,
to
yeah.
have somebody hear you. When you started your company, Rooted Homeopathy, you got all of your certifications and, you started treating other women and helping other families, but now you're teaching. Why did you decide to start branching out beyond just meeting with people one on one? What was the heart behind that?
Some of it is that when I was first learning homeopathy, I was learning about classical homeopathy. And there was a lot of information on the internet, books and other things, that you as a mom at home can work on acutes, but you can't handle chronics. And so I was really helped when I learned about practical homeopathy and found that there are a lot of simple things that are more chronic issues that the average mom can work through at home. You just need to
Mhm.
put a little bit of time and effort into learning homeopathy, and there are protocols as you learn remedies for other options, learn case management. You can manage a lot of things at home. And so I know that there are a lot of people who were in the position that I was in, where we didn't have traditional healthcare. We had a sharing ministry and they didn't cover alternative treatments. And
Yeah.
I was trying to DIY stuff for my own health as well as my boys. We've got gluten sensitivities, one that's possibly celiac. We've got other food sensitivities and behavioral, emotional issues, ticks, facial ticks, not like tick bites.
Yeah.
Lots of different, little things that all start to add up when you're trying to figure out how to manage health and wellness for a family. And
Yeah.
I just really have a heart for wanting moms to get back to this God-given role of being the caretaker of their family, not just in the everyday home management kinds of things, but you're the primary person to take care of the health and wellness of your family. And that starts with food and diet, but then there's emotional stuff there. But even then, when someone gets sick, you are the one who knows your child the best. You're the one who knows your husband the best. You know yourself better than anyone else in some ways. You need some outside objective people to help you along the way. But there are so many things that the average mom can do with homeopathy and even herbs and other natural support options without having to run to the urgent care or the pediatrician or the emergency room for every little sniffle.
So you talk about your faith and you talk about moms, and I know that you specifically work with Christian moms. Why have you made that your focus, and what about their specific needs do you feel like is kind of relatable more to you?
My background is actually in biblical studies. So I went to college and seminary, and I have a BA in Bible, a master's in Old Testament studies, and I worked in the church for a period of time. And then as I had the boys and wanted to be home and homeschool, and then my health was getting worse, I was home, but I have the biblical training background. The best way I know how to describe myself is a seminary trained biblical researcher.
Mhm.
Because when you tell someone you have an Old Testament studies, they're like, "Well, okay, well, you're not a preacher, you're not a teacher, you're not a
What do you do
pastor."
with
Like,
that?
what? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a seminary trained biblical researcher is the best way I know how to describe that. And so, I was taught how to read the Bible, study scripture, and then how to research outside of that.
Mhm.
Ancient texts, and I know Hebrew, I know Greek, I can dig into that stuff. So there's that aspect of it. And then I was seeing that there were a lot of Christians on the internet who were like, well, you can't use this or that because that's witchcraft or that's new age or something along those lines. And so I'm like, wait a minute. So then I got a little nervous. I'm like, oh, is homeopathy something I shouldn't be doing? And
Yeah.
I started digging into it, and I just went to God in prayer, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do here? Because I'm using this and I know that it works. Is this bad? And I just felt like he told me to do what I do with everything else, start researching it and figure it out. And so as I went down that path, I'm like, no, there is nothing wrong with homeopathy. This is not new age. This is not witchcraft, occultic, or my husband's favorite word, woo woo. I love it. I love it when he's here in the office and I get to say that word. It makes him cringe. But it's none of those things. It's actually very biblically aligned.
Yeah.
The way that homeopathy works fits with the way that God designed the world. And I could go off on this for hours, but there are places in scripture that teach us things that are in alignment with homeopathy and the idea of simillimum. So I just felt like there are Christian moms in particular out there that I can relate to and I can speak to who have either dealt with this gaslighting from the conventional medical system and are looking for something different, or maybe they've already been in the more natural world of health and wellness options and they're struggling to figure out how to integrate their faith. What should I be doing as a believer? Is this okay as a believer? Does this align with my biblical Christian worldview? And then how do I actually put it into practice?
That's a really unique and eye-opening way to think about that. I really like that idea of taking the biblical research and applying that to your studies and applying that to, for lack of a better word, your medicinal studies, and kind of merging those two together to help feed each other and help them grow. Looking at your life right now with homesteading and homeschooling and homeopathy, you got a lot of home in there. How do all of these pieces connect for you? What's that common thread?
It's wanting to serve my family. It's wanting to serve my community. It's wanting to serve God. Like this is how he's created me, to be a researcher. I wouldn't have gone to school and done the degrees that I have and then continued to study homeopathy if I hadn't been wired that way. So I'm naturally wired to be a researcher and to be a teacher. And then I'm called by God to be the caretaker in my family, the person who manages things around here, and make sure things get done. And I'm helping, emotionally and physically in things day in and day out. And then I've got a responsibility to care for my community, those around me, and use the unique gifts and skills that God's given me.
Is there anything that this journey has taught you personally about what you're capable of that matters most to you?
Stronger than I realized I was, even when
Yeah.
I'm sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, just learning and following, hearing the voice of God. Like I said, our RVing journey was very Abraham like. Just being willing to take the next step when it doesn't seem to make sense, and
Hmm.
knowing that the ground is going to rise to meet us, so to speak,
Yeah.
that God's going to make a way, and he's not calling us to do crazy things just to do crazy things, or there's a reason behind.
Yeah.
He provides.
Is there any advice that you would give to moms that are struggling, whether it's with their health or just feeling overwhelmed with life?
I'm feeling a
I
little
know that's a
overwhelmed
big,
with life
broad
myself
question.
today. It's been a crazy day here. Every day is different. Whether you're homeschooling or you're working, or you're in the house, out of the house. Your kids are 3 or they're 19. Like, there's always something that's going to have to be done. There's always something vying for your attention, and it's figuring out how to balance those things where you should be focusing. And I really kind of hate the term balance, because
Yeah.
it's more about seasons. And even over the course of a day, like, there are things that need my attention. Like, I'm sitting here talking to you, and my kids are not getting my attention right
Yeah.
now. But when I'm done, they're going to get my attention for a period of time. And then I've got a client, and that client's going to have my full attention until,
Right.
dinner has to be made, and that kind of thing. So there's ebbs and flows, and there's seasons of life, and it's always changing. And part of my definition of health is flexibility.
Huh.
And I'm not very flexible sometimes. Sometimes I'm more rigid than I would like to admit. But health is a flexibility. It's being able to bend and change and come back again, using that big word homeostasis again, coming back to a
Yeah.
center point. It's like a pendulum swinging back and forth. You're going to go to one thing for a period of time, and then you may go to another thing, and then you come back to center, and you just keep following it along.
Well, if our listeners want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about your work or explore homeopathy, I can get that word out, homeopathy for themselves or their families. How can they do that, Amanda?
Yeah, the best place to find me is at rootedhomeopathy.com. I am on social media. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, but I'm not extremely active in either of those places. I have a membership community where I spend more of my time, just because homeopathy is a bit of a taboo subject in some places. And so being able to be really open about both homeopathy and faith together on
Yeah.
social media can be difficult, but you can find out about any of those things on my website. I actually have a landing page specifically for Learn to RV listeners that we've been using. It's rootedhomeopathy.com/learn to RV, all written out, no dashes or spaces or anything. And over there, you can find links to anything that I've talked about in my blog posts and my last podcast that we did. And there's some freebies over there about learning about homeopathy and getting started with homeopathy.
Awesome. Well, we will put the link to that in the show notes. And I will also put the link to your author page on learntorv.com in the show notes so that people can go to that. And from there, they can link to any of the blogs that you've done on Learn to RV so that they can get some of your firsthand guidance that way. I just really, really appreciate you coming on and talking with me today. And it has been a pleasure getting to speak with you for the first time. And we are just very grateful for you at Learn to RV. So check out Amanda at rootedhomeopathy.com. And if you like this episode, like, comment, share, and join us on Patreon. And we will catch you next time.